Siyahleka, siyakhonza, siyabulisa. Ninjani? Tamago, some of these things are not meant for the outsiders. Some of these songs, some ways of singing and rendering sound are only to be kept secret because it's how we strengthen ourselves. It's how we heal ourselves. I was having a conversation this past weekend about the whole thing of singing. And how it's such a central part of what we understand as healing. One of the first things that happened with the arrival of Europeans was the introduction of foreign systems of food production, foreign systems of healing, foreign systems of communication. So things like therapy, things like treatment, administration, we already had an elaborate system of those. And one of the key differentiating factors between indigenous medicine and Western medicine is diagnosis. For us, sickness of a part is seen as sickness of the whole. Whereas in Western medicine, sickness tends to be isolated to the part. That's one of the most radical differences, that your liver is failing. No, your lung is failing. You have a heart disease and this disease and that, as though the heart is not a fundamental part of the entire human anatomy. So our difference is, although we can see where the symptoms manifest, in which part of the body the symptoms manifest, when we say sometimes someone is sick, we don't say her heart is sick, her lungs are sick. We say She is sick as a whole. He is sick, he's unwell as a whole. So that is one of the most radical differences in terms of diagnosis, that we see it. Health is seen as a coordination of all the different organs and parts. So even mental health is not separated, it's still health, you know. That is not to say that the isolation of a specific area of operation is not understood. It's very much understood. Just because I say we understand it as a whole ecosystem, it doesn't mean you're gonna come in with a headache and then I'm gonna massage your feet. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes you can come in with a headache and somebody massages your hand, because these things are connected. That's why if you have stress, it's your chest that gets stiff. It's your chest that gets stiff. You get a headache, you get eye issues. Like stress activates specific parts of the body. You can even have pain in your arm, but you're stressed about your money. Shouldn't it be that the wallet is where the problem is? No, because the sickness is the whole thing. It's the whole thing that's sick. It's not one little part. It is absolutely everything. It's everything. This is why using herbs, not extracts, but the full thing, eating good, the full thing. You eat an apple as it is. I'm not a big fan of apples, but you get what I'm saying. You eat an avocado as it is. You eat an orange or as it is, or a narchi as it is. You don't extract the citric acid or the vitamin C and then consume the vitamin C in and of itself, because it's got a molecular structure and that does something to other parts of the body. So the body as a whole operates as a whole. It operates as a whole. You can't just take the engine and be like, I'm going to work, I'm gonna ride on this engine of mine. No, you need the car seats, you need the steering wheel, you need the exhaust pipes, you need the pedals, your accelerator, your clutch, or whatever, your lever, your gear lever, because it's a coordinated system. It's a coordinated system that results in the overall well-being. So that is one of the key areas that we have to understand. In rendering well-being, it's not a matter of just fixing the economy. Oh, just fix the economy and everything is going to be fine. No, everything is not going to be fine, even if everybody has a job. People are going to start hanging themselves at an alarming rate. People are going to start jumping off buildings at an alarming rate, because something is not right. When we administer treatment, when we administer healing, it has to be done so holistically. You heal the mind, you heal the soul, you heal the spirit, you heal the wallet, you heal your dentals, your eyes, etc. That's why people take medical aids. They go get their ears tested. They will go to an optometrist and get their eyes tested. They will go to a dentist. They will go to a liver specialist, a heart specialist, etc., etc. Because you wanna look at the entire thing. It's the same in every other aspect of life. So I was thinking about a song. Mumbelele numdo kulayo, mumbelele, mumbelele yo, mumbelele. It says literally, sing for that which is sick. Sing for the sick person. But it's not as shallow as people may think. Firstly, the word of choice, ombela, to sing, in contrast to ula, to sing as well. Because these two words are not the same. They are similar but not the same thing. You see, ukucula, in essence, comes from the concept of making noise, of making sound. Ukombela, the word, comes from the concept of digging for something, uprooting something. I repeat, the word ula or twila or tila It comes from a word "i" or "u" or "ei" or "twi," which means sound, song, celebration, dance. Ombela comes from the verb omba. It means to dig for something. It means to uproot. And the word that's used here, mombelelen umdu ogulayo, it doesn't mean dance or celebrate for the sick person, but rather uproot or dig deep. So it's a different kind of song that you sing for the sick. And it comes from an old practice where the healer, as he administers treatment, but also as he goes to the garden, the forest, to gather medicine, because that's what medicine is nature. The practitioners, the assistants would come, surround the healer, and actually offer singing. But usually, this singing is not the kind of singing with lyrics. It's not the kind of singing that you can write down and write down the lyrics. Not amapiano, it's not quite this kind of singing. This is a different kind of singing. We call this ingoma zongxengxeza, the songs of sorrow. These are songs of propitiation, songs of prayer in a way. And they are highly associated with the healing practices of our people. Now, they don't just heal physical ailments, but they also heal psychological things, anxiety, feelings of not belonging, homesickness. I remember when I was in a different city as a student, there were times where I would feel that I miss home. I know I cannot go home as of now, but I need a place where I feel stiff in my psyche, in my psychology, in my mental capacity. I feel stiff. So I want to release this. It's like I need to release something. There's an energy accumulation that has happened, and I need to release. In my language, we call that ukuqhabalak. I want to feel qabalala. And this would be done through song. And this is how sometimes political parties or even cults are able to capture our people, because our people understand the frequency of music more than anything. If you want to teach a child of this land anything, you put it in a song. Good or bad, you put it in a song. It stays with us. It stays with us. It leaves an imprint. We download that knowledge. We download the feelings that come with song. I mean, our language, you could think of our language as some kind of, when you're listening to someone speaking, you would think we are rapping or singing or doing poetry, but it's just singing. It's just talking. So you find that younger people now who have lost that indigenous ecosystem of age groups, because back in the day, as you grow, you belong to an age group. You guys have your own appropriate gatherings where appropriate singing is done, appropriate food is given, appropriate, sports are played. Most people have lost that. So what you have is now young people who are empty, who are in lack. They lack those spaces, and that is occupied by cults or organizations. You have you have politics now to occupy the mind of young people. 500 years ago, it was a different kind of situation. You've got church now, you've got parties now, and all of this, they take the space of that which young people were supposed to have experienced at a certain age. And I say this because I've been reflecting in the past few days on songs we were taught as children, and I realized most of these songs were very specific to those situations. Like, for example, we're in the cooking area outside as children. We're in the cooking area as Ziko. and there's smoke coming. You know, we were taught to sing for the smoke, excuse me. We're taught to sing. We could sing to the smoke. I don't know, like we were communicating with the sun, with the moon, with the stars, with rain, with fire, with smoke. We would say, msi, bheka ngapha, inyama namazambane, inyama netapile zingapha. Msi, bheka ngapha, inyama netapile zingapha. And we're talking to the smoke. We're telling the smoke, no, move that direction. You know, when it's raining, you go and talk to the rain. Hamba, vula mvula bheke mpofu, langa langa iza ngapha. Vula mvula. We're telling the rain to move to a specific town and the sun to come where you are. And then, when the rain is not coming, as children, and I'm saying we were literally children, when the rain is not coming, we would talk to the rain, tell it to come. Mvula, zakuphi ibhokhwe. Mvula, zakuphi ibhokhwe. Ezigabani. So you're telling the rain, come down, I'll give you a couple of goats. So again, this is all packaged in song. You talk to the smoke and the fire. You talk to the rain. You talk to the sun. You talk to the sun. Iza langa langa iza nganeno. Vula mvula bheka ngapha. Langa langa iza nganeno. And I realized that there's no way I can ever forget those things. Ever. No way at all. Because that's how indigenous lessons were imparted on us through song. And these songs did not need to be written in books. They are written in our souls. And you understand that rain is something, the way we are taught, I want it to make sense. You can communicate with nature. It's fine to talk to the sun. It's fine to talk to the rain. It may not mean that the sun can actually hear you the way a human hears you, but it creates something in your psyche that the same respect you give to a fellow human, you give to the moon, the sun, and the stars, and all elements of nature. I think that is the bigger lesson here. I think that is the bigger lesson there here. Because communication is not necessarily because you assume the sun has ears to listen. But communication with nature is from the understanding that you are nature yourself. And you learn this from a young age. And also very practical, everyday lessons were imparted through song. Think about it. Xa ndiwela umgaqo, ndijonga ekunene nasekhohlo kunene. Hayi akho izayo. Ndikhawuleze ndiwele. It's a song. It says, literally, when I cross the road, I look to the left, I look to the right, no car is coming, I'll quickly run and cross. As a child, you take that, you actually apply it when it's time to apply it. And I thought maybe with this idea of revisiting the curriculum of South Africa, how is it that indigenous schooling methodologies, indigenous teaching, indigenous pedagogies, how is it that there's not even one subject in the entire history of South African formal schooling? There's not even a single subject that teaches the history of indigenous teaching. I'm not saying people must be taught how to teach, but just to teach, because it's part of the heritage of the land. Here, schools were structured in this way before these missionary schools came. Because the schools you have right now are originally missionaries. It's mission houses, mission centers. A missionary, usually a pastor, a reverend, will come, set up a building, take orders from the royal family or from the Cape Colony government, procure a couple of royal children, teach them. This is how it started. This is how it started, and it was always private. Schools started as private schools. We didn't have government schools in the early days. It was all private. How is it that with this idea of transforming education, there's not even a single subject that teaches the indigenous school and school of thought? You get what I'm saying? The knowledge is there. Our grandmothers were great teachers around the fire. They were great teachers around the fire. They were the ones who preserved the language, the grandmothers. They were the language practitioners. They were the linguists. They were very good at creating language and linguistic practices. But also, the men had their own part of teaching, particularly imparting knowledge to the boys. But the entire schooling system, which was also age-based and depended on your role, which was based on your gender or your status, not always gender-specific, but also based on status. Because if you're a royal child, a princess, you could still do a job of a male, even if you're not a male. The daughter of Raghabe, she did not marry. So she ended up running her own clan, Amandluncha, who then, after she died, her brothers took over that clan. They became a Magasela. So it's just my thoughts, about imparting lessons. I think if people have been learning in a certain way, and Umkabaika Jama as well is one of those, and there's many princesses, and not just princesses, also ordinary women. That did great stuff, I mean, Unongause, we know about Unongause, although her name has been smeared over the decades. But it's a young girl who made a lot of history as well. So, it's just my thoughts about if people have been living in an area for thousands of years, clearly they knew how to survive in that area. Clearly, there's something you can learn from them, but somehow you do not involve their thinking processes, their original indigenous thinking processes, anywhere in the established system. And you think that system is going to succeed. The system is always going to fall every time and again. The system is always going to fail in South Africa. It's always going to fail. I don't care how people try to defend it. This system will always fail because it excludes the foundational people of this land. It's built on exclusion. The education system, financial system, the entire economic system, the health sector. Our people are not included. They're not consulted. They are not the basis. They've been reduced to third-class citizen in this land. You see, places like Northern Cape, Free State, there's 2,000-year-old rock structures there. Ruins, stone ruins of the people you call today Basotho, Batswana, Bapedi, Bakhatla, the people you call Bakoni, 2,000-year-old stone structures, and those are the most recent ones from the old civilizations of South Africa. The idea that South Africans are these backwards people is complete nonsense. We are people who build with stone. We've got a lot of stone culture. I mean, to this day, you just have to go to the villages. Go to Ngobo. Look at how they built the kraal. There's a stone technology that still exists to this day where there's no adhesive used. There's no cement used, but the walls are standing. You just have to go to Lesotho and look at how the houses and stones are built and stone kraals are built. There are people who still practice that old technology where stones are put on top of each other. They go vertical. They never fall. All over Mpumalanga, Eswatini, Free State, Northern Cape, Northwest, obviously Lesotho, parts of Eastern Cape, Limpopo, all the way to Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Mozambique, the Kalahari. There's stone ruins that attest to this long heritage. So if the curriculum is going to be changed, it better be addressing these discrepancies. And if it doesn't, it's still going to fail the people of this land, because you cannot be teaching people about things that are irrelevant to them. Unless indeed the purpose of the curriculum is to keep our people drunk and dizzy. It's not to really empower, because you empower people by showing how what they've done in the past and what they can still do in the future. You take an average grade 10 learner in this country's system, they know nothing. You know nothing. They'll just tell you about the stem of a plant and then the chlorophyll, and then I'm like, oh goodness. Like, what are you gonna do with that? How is the country going to benefit from that? We've got at least 20 generations of people learning the exact same thing, and we do not see the country going any forward with that. So if you wanna heal this land, you fix that which is broken, you fix that which is crooked, and it starts at the foundation. The very foundation is ignored, which is us. We are the foundation of this country. You cannot keep on fixing the roof. You fix the roof. Even the roof, you fix it with rotten material, by the way. You fix it with rotten material. You bring people who are not professionals. You try to fix the roof, but the foundation is falling apart deliberately. That's exactly what's happening in South Africa. So those are my thoughts around the very idea of healing that. We do not lack information. And I mean those of us who qualify to teach it. We don't lack it. It's there. We have an array of civilizations, South African civilizations, and general Southern African civilizations. We know actually built civilizations, stone-built structures that link to modern day ethnic groups like Batswana, AmaXhosa, AmaZulu, modern day ethnic groups like Swati people, the Maseko people, the Tsonga people. We've got stone ruins that link to those people. I'm not talking about stone ruins that from 300,000 years ago. I'm talking about stuff from like 1,700 years ago. We've got that all over the country. But I would ask any grade 10 child to name 5 stone ruins that exist in South Africa that were built by the natives. They will not know, not even one. I never learned about those things at school. The only thing I learned about was Mapungube. I learned about Mapungube, yes. I learned about the golden rhino, indeed. Because it's kind of like there in government. Government symbolism takes a lot of stuff from Mapungube, but that's about it. But Mapungube is quite young, if you think about it. It's a very young civilization. There are civilizations that go back like 1,000 years before Mapungube. Why nobody talks about those ones? Because Mapungube didn't just pop up out of nowhere. And I think the concept of isolating Mapungube tries to achieve that, actually. It tries to isolate it as an anomaly, as an outlier. Mapungube was not an outlier. You see, there's a place called Melville Copies in Randburg. There in Randburg, there's a strong iron culture evidence there. There are a lot of archaeological finds there. Just go to Randburg. There's so much civilization that was there. And this is like stuff that was there 1,800 years ago. 1,800 years ago in Randburg, there was already people living there, and they built houses with stone, and they were mining, and they were smelting, and then they were forging, and they were making weapons, they were making tools with iron and copper and other precious metals. And that's just Randburg. You go to Tshwane, there's similar civilization, evidence of civilization. You go to Tzaneen and Phalaborwa, there's similar evidence of civilization. We go to Magaliesburg, there's similar evidence of civilization. You go to Eswatini, where there's Ngwenya mine, similar evidence of, and these are civilizations that existed around the same time. You go back to like 300 AD, 400 AD, 500 AD. These groups were living at the same time across the different provinces. Midrand, yes, Midrand. The Midrand area, there's a lot of stone ruin implements there. Iron Age culture that you can find. Even in the Witwatersrand area. You know, Witwatersrand, in 400 AD, 500 AD, the people who had built cities where there's Wits today, where there's Bramfontein today, the people who built there are the ancestors of the so-called Batswana and Bapedi and Basotho and some Nguni groups. I also wonder what archaeologists are doing. I really wonder what are they doing? Because for these things to be found, it took the colonial government even to actually find some of these things. But I think later some of them regretted and tried to hide them because they had to support that Bantu invasion theory, So they kind of tried to hide some of these things. Because the key here is that we can link these civilizations from 2,000 years ago that were already built in stone, that we already had mining within them. We can link them to actual cultures that exist today. So it's true that these groups you find like Yobakwena, your Bafukeng that you find today, the groups like your Maseko, they go back to 1,800 years ago directly. We can see it. But even further than that, these archaeological finds prove to us that these groups also had relations with other groups across the Limpopo, like in what later became Great Zimbabwe. And what later became Botswana. There was an evidence that these groups were in communication, which makes sense because trade routes were formed, exchange of culture, exchange of technology existed. This is exactly why people who were in Cape Town when Jan van Riebeeck arrived knew about people who were in Zimbabwe. And they could tell Jan van Riebeeck. There were no cars, there was no internet. There's no way they could have seen them on TikTok. Oh, damn, these people are in Zimbabwe. They knew that there are people in Zimbabwe. They knew that there are people in Limpopo. People in Cape Town knew that. How? Shared history, shared culture, shared heritage. That's why you find the exact same stories of origin in all these groups. The same beliefs in all these groups. The same language, as I've shown in hours and hours of work that I've put out there, that these people speak languages that are based on the same thing, really. You're not gonna learn that at school. I wonder what's gonna come with this revised history. Is it gonna be some bull crap? Nothing we don't already know. What history should establish is that South African native people are not invaders in their own country. That's what they should be teaching in those bloody schools. Not mention it once in a 500-page book, mention it once in one page. No, 99% of the pages must repeat that until it gets through the thick skulls of those who have fallen victim to the propaganda of the alienation of our people in this land. If it means that's the only thing kids must be taught, then that's the only thing they must be taught. We cannot allow our people to be alienated in their own lands. We can see it. It's been happening since 1652. We're going to revise the history curriculum. You just want to please what the colonizers wrote. That's what the ANC government does. They are managers. You're busy teaching our children Bantu migration nonsense here. You're not telling them about Umhwabane shelter in the Drakensberg Amazisi Traditional Authority area that has got history going back 40,000 years. You don't teach them about that. You don't teach them about the fact that Eastern Cape has the highest concentration of stone, of rock art than any other region in the whole of Southern Africa. You do not teach about that. That the Eastern Cape has the highest concentration of all rock art implements, of all caves that got rock art, of all shelters that have rock art in the whole SADC region, in the whole sub-Zambia region. Eastern Cape is the highest concentration of those things. How you tell people about Bantu migration? So, I don't know, man. I think we have to go private. I don't think so. I know. That's why last year, you see, last year in what is this thing? I think there's soccer playing, so people are losing their minds now. But last year in July, I started my institution, Sandile Tukan University. And it's been going for 1 year now. I think we've had about 35 long-term people who joined and have been learning. And I think that's the only way, really, to solve all this misinformation and propaganda. People must come and learn long term, not once every live or every other live. No, no, no. They must go deep and see the literature themselves and learn and know where these areas are physically, because there's so much archaeology, there's so much evidence to the contrast of this nonsense that people arrived. In fact, it goes as far as 4000 BC. No, 2000 BC, where, for example, in the region of northern Zimbabwe, parts of Botswana, you can see the Chwa and the Kalanga merging there in those regions. 2000 BC already. 2000 BC, the Chwa and the Kalanga already merging there, resulting in a lot of the so-called Chwa people. One could even say some of the Kalanga fathers gave birth to Chwa children. Some of the Chwa fathers gave birth to Kalanga children. It's like a cultural exchange of some sort. Again, those things are not taught. Oh. The information is there. The information is there. For example, there's a document titled Origin of the Tswana. That's one of the documents you can look for. It's titled Origin of the Tswana by the Michigan State University. That's the thing. You're going to find it from a South African source. It's by the Michigan State University. I think the document that was produced, I don't know which year, but I think maybe in the 70s or early 2000s, I'm not sure. But it says Origin of the Tswana from the Michigan State University by a person called L. Ngqongqo. It's a decent document. It actually references a lot of archaeology going back like 400 to 200 AD. So it's a good enough document to start with. But you must also find other documents that go back to 2000 BC, 3000 BC. So you must not just look at one thing, the archaeology. You also look at the linguistics, you also look at the genetics, you also look at the oral history. More than anything, the oral history has to serve as the foundation. I'm not talking about oral history that is based on the books of Soga and the writings of A.T. Bryant. I'm talking about the original oral history, the original one, before our people knew about a place called Africa, because our people did not know that there was a place called Africa. They did not know about that. They just knew that there's land. So before they were told, oh no, you guys, you belong to the East continent, our people did not know that, but they just know that the world is theirs. They were born in the world, their ancestors were born in the same place, and they've always been here. That's what you get when you look at the real version of our ancestral history. Now, there are groups that were travelers that moved from A to B, from B to C. Now, those groups will have that in part of their history as well. So that's one. That's the first subject I wanted to address. The subject of the revisiting of history. Our history has not yet been told. So I do think that the solution is privatization. We have to privatize our own narratives. Oh, we didn't have continental consciousness. Well, there were no continents. Nobody had continental consciousness. Nobody. There were no continents. You see, back in the day, if you go to Rome, you would find the same people that you find in Sudan. You could go to Greece and find a bunch of Ethiopians, noble bloodlines from Nigeria living in Greece, in ancient Greece. You get what I'm saying? Noble families who were related to Senegalese people in ancient Britain. So there was no continental consciousness because it just did not exist. Go look up the old noble families of Germany and Britain, old noble families of Scotland. A lot of them that are actually people that are considered African today. Some of them are from like places like Nigeria, places like Sudan, places like Senegal today. They were part of the nobilities of Europe. There's a long history of that. In fact, there's a book that says Nature Knows No Color Line. Check that. So you could not have continental consciousness when there was no such a thing as continental anything. The same people you find in East Africa, you could find them in Middle East, you could find them in Asia. In fact, even to this day, if you go to the Philippines, you find Aita people who have afro, people who look like you and me. They're in the Philippines. So what consciousness would those people then have? Because they are in the Philippines. Would they have continental consciousness and pride themselves in being Filipino? But you can clearly see they look the same as some people in Mozambique. You get what I'm saying? So these are new concepts that came with imperialism and colonization. I mean, not long ago, the Irish were not even considered white. The Italians were not considered white. Not long ago. It's even the Jews. It's just these are just new ideas. So that's one. Yeah, the Moors, the Blackamoors, and all that. The very long history of black nobilities across the world. Across the world. So continental consciousness is complete. It's a hoax. Now I'm moving to a next subject. The next subject now, I spoke about teaching and us being at the forefront of that. The second now, I'm going to talk about time, the tracking of time. You see, there's a need to go back and introspect how even the whole idea of decolonization, the gaps in these buzzwords. I remember I was still a student when decolonization became the thing to talk about. Decolonization, let's decolonize education. Let's decolonize this, let's decolonize that. Buzzword, just like the fourth industrial revolution buzzword. Just like today, performative is a buzzword. People like to use these buzzwords. They don't even understand. Nobody sits down and define the semantics of these words. Nobody sits down and decides, okay, we use this word up to this far. Anybody can just hop onto the word and take advantage of it and use it. Now let's talk about time. And I have a specific reference. Excuse me. You see, if you go outside right now and look at the moon, I can clearly see the moon as I'm looking at you, as I'm talking to you. I see the crescent and I see a star just above the moon. It's like the Islam symbol. And I look at the horizon, I see a crescent moon, a fresh moon. It was a new moon 3 days ago, by the way. So we're in a new lunar month now, since 3 days ago. So it's the third day of this lunar month. And just above the moon, I see the star. This moon is called Untulikazi in isiZulu, the month of the great dust. This moon is called Slimela in isiXhosa, the month of the plowing of fields, and the month of the appearance of the Pleiades, the seven sisters. Isilimela and Untulikazi is not June. It's not the month of June. The month of June does not have an equivalent here in South Africa. We don't have June, July, August, September, October, November, December. We do not have them. We don't have them. Because the month of June, July, August are based off the calendar, the Roman Gregorian calendar, which was a tool that was used to track collection of taxes. So these months are based off of tax collection as per the Roman style. Nothing to do with us whatsoever. So I don't want to hear anyone who's going to come and tell me, no, June is the month of Untulikazi. No, June is the month of Unhlaba. No, June is the month of Islimela. No, that is not the case. Untulikazi, Unhlaba, Islimela, these months don't exist in the Roman calendar. Roman calendar is Jan to December. Our indigenous time tracking is based on the moon. So as I'm looking at the moon now, I knew it 2 days ago when I saw the new moon appear that now it's a new year. KwaXhosa. Meropa, what the adventure? No, September is not a new year because September does not exist in our indigenous cultures. There's no September. September is a Roman month. It means the 7th. That's what September means. How can the 7th be the 1st? Remember, when you say new year, that means you're starting. But the name Sept means 7. So you must forget about those things. That's exactly what I was warning against with buzzwords like decolonized, all those things. Forget about them. You are learning something real now. There is no September that is a new year here, ever. 3 days ago, on the 15th of June, in the Roman calendar, for us, it was the first day of the lunar month because the moon appeared in the sky after it had disappeared. So this is how the moon cycle works. The moon goes through phases. It starts as a new moon. It goes through the waning and the waxing phases, becomes full moon, and then it dies. It disappears from the sky. That's what the moon does. It disappears. And then it appears again. And that we call a new month. That's what we call it. That's why we call the month Inyanga, which means the moon. So how indigenous months work, they depend on that moon. When it appears again after 29 and a half days on average, when it appears again, that is what? A new month for us. So the moon was on its cycle until the 14th of June. On the 14th of June, the next day, the moon started a new cycle. How do you know that? Because it disappears. It waxes and wanes. So you have a waxing and a waning moon, a full moon when it's halfway, and then it waxes, and then it dies. We say Nyanga ifile. Nyanga ifile. When it resurrects again, that means when it appears, it's very tiny. You're not gonna see it in the sky. When it reappears, it's a new moon. We say Khwedi itwasitse. Inkwezi itwasile or inyanga itwasile. Now, you can't tell me the 1st of September is a new year. There is no 1st of September. We don't have it. So, in the Xhosa culture, September is not a new year. The new year in the Xhosa culture was 3 days ago when Isilimela was beginning. Isilimela was beginning with the appearance of the new moon of this month. This is the month also where you experience the winter solstice, where the length of the night is going to be the longest and the length of the day is going to be the shortest. That day is the peak of winter throughout the entire year. That day is called the winter solstice. It's not a specific day. It's not going to be 21st of June. It's usually between 21st to 24th. So it could be any of the days in those 4 days where the sun is the furthest from the southern hemisphere. So that means the sun is 23.5 degrees above the equator. So it's in the Tropic of Cancer. So the new year of Amaxhosa started 3 days ago. Started 3 days ago. Let me explain quickly. KwaXhosa, boys originally went to the mountain, not in June, because there was no June. Again, they went to the mountain in Ukwindla. Ukwindla usually begins mid-March. What is Ukwindla? Ukwindla is that new moon that signifies the eating of the first fruits. Let me help you. I will explain. I'll come back to this quickly. In Xhosa culture, it's about 12 months. In other cultures, it's 12 to 13. There's usually an extra 10 days that people observe. In May, end of May to June, there's an extra 10 days that people observe in other cultures. They call that Indidabadala or Indidamadod. But it's 12 months to 13 years. So what you have right now, KwaXhosa, is the month of Isilimela. This month of Isilimela now marks the appearance of the Pleiades. Amaxhosa know that it's time to start plowing the fields very soon. So the hoes are gonna come out. The boys have been already in the mountain for 3 months already, since the first fruit ceremony. They've been in the mountain for 3 months already. Now they're going to go and work in the fields. This is called indima zokuqala. The young men go and work without other people, of course. They work on what we call indima zokuqala. Indima is the land that is being plowed, from the word kulima. So when the men, the young men, or the abakhwetha, they work, the initiates, they work in indima zokuqala, they get given what we call amalizo, or gifts. They work, and then around August, September, the boys come back. They've done the work on indima zokuqala. They come back. So this period now, between now and September, yes, they used to spend 6 months. So between March and September, that's 6 months. Now, around September now, when they start plowing, they're preparing for the planting of wheat in the Xhosa culture, in Ngqolowa. The wheat is the first thing that is planted as winter is dying and spring approaches. Now, you start to see this trend of New Year coming throughout the country. Even KwaZulu, originally, the oldest history of AmaZulu confirms that the New Year was around mid-August, not September. Around mid-August, uNcwaba. After uNcwaba, you have the month of uMpandula. Umpandula. Now, umpandula is a word that means to stab. I'm thinking it has to do with digging the ground. Not umandulo. People get confused by the word umandulo, which means beginning. They think it means beginning of the year. No. Umandulo was used to respect umpande, because the real name of that month of September is Mpandula. Not September, sorry, but it begins mid-September. When uNcwaba ends, you get Mpandula, which means to continuously penetrate or cut through something. Like if, let's say, you have a skin of leather and you keep on cutting it, yeah, a pandula, that's what we call it. So umpandula, I'm thinking it's just the continuous digging of the land. In that month, the reason why it's called umandulo now is to respect umpande, because it was umpandula. So we have this tradition of avoidance. Now, to respect Isilo or Unkosi Umpande, AmaZulu decided, no, we're going to use the word umandulo. The nice thing is that now there's a star that appears in that time. That star is called Isandulela, the spiker star. Yes, Isandulela. That star now, Sandulela Ikwezi. So that star leads the Venus, the morning star. So before you see the Venus, you see the spiker star, Isandulela. And I believe this is also connected to the word umandul. That's why it was an easy word to use. But the beginning of the year, we have to remove the colonial mindset that it has to be a specific day. Beginning is not a day. It's a period of transition. Like everything else we do, we are not Westerners. We cannot have equivalents for everything. Beginning is a transition. Remember, I told you, from the winter solstice to the spring equinox, that is to say, the 3-month period between 21st to 24th June to about 21st to 24th September, that 3-month period, that is the beginning of the year across different cultures. There's no one day that is the beginning of the year. And I know there could have been someone that you trust, an elder that told you that beginning of the year is 23 September. In which culture? Which culture has the date called 23 September in South Africa? Which culture? Honestly, there's no culture that has a date called 23 September here. It's a lie. Across different cultures, the year begins somewhere between June, July to somewhere between August, October. It's not the same time for everyone. But that period of transition from winter solstice to spring equinox, that is the highest level of rapid change from winter to spring. That's where most cultures introduce a new season. What is this new season for? It's a new season for plowing the land, really. That's what it is. We are plowing the land. This is why you also have the activation of unomkhubulwana in this season. Unomkhubulwana, the word comes from the word ukukhubula. Ukukhubula comes from the word ikuba. Ikuba is the hole that you use to dig the ground. So unomkhubulwana is the period of the plowing of many fields, and unomkhubulwana is accompanied by the appearance of the 7 sisters. What are the 7 sisters? Isilimela. Same thing that AmaXhosa are saying. When the Isilimela appears in the Cape Province, AmaXhosa know to pick up the hoe and dig the ground. And therefore, the year of AmaXhosa starts now, this week. 3 days ago, the year of AmaXhosa began. It began on the 15th of June. It was a new year in Eastern Cape. Probably no Xhosa person celebrated it because they are misinformed. They don't know. They don't know. Which begs now the question, what are people learning at school? What are people learning at school? They're learning about April Fool's Day, Guy Fawkes Day. They're not learning about indigenous matters. What is April Fool's Day going to do for us? It has nothing to do with us whatsoever. Valentine's Day, everyone will be busy wearing red and white. Absolutely nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with us. Hey, Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's. Screw the Valentine's Day. The day of Isilimela amongst the AmaXhosa passed 3 days ago. Not even one celebration. 2 days ago or 3 days ago, not even one celebration was had. On the 14th of June, the Xhosa people were supposed to be celebrating the appearance of the new moon. Right now, I'm looking at the moon. It looks blood red. It's the shadow of the earth. And yesterday I was observing Venus. No, planet Mars, sorry. The planet Mars, the red star. I was observing it yesterday. It was in full appearance. I could see it from my window. And I'm addressing this because I know there's so much misinformation about the idea of time. People think it's as easy as just replacing European concepts. And this is why I'm warning against this. I'm warning against this. There are people who take advantage of our people's need for replacing European stuff. To replace European stuff doesn't mean you must have an equivalent for them. Sometimes you need to completely eradicate European stuff. Sometimes you need to completely remove them because there is no actual equivalent. Why would there be an equivalent? They live in snow, we live here. In the savanna biome, we live in the grasslands. We live in the fynbos biome. We live in the tropics, for those who are in Limpopo, 23.5 degrees below the equator, in the Tropic of Capricorn. We have nothing to do with the snow of Norway. Even Lesotho, there's some snow because of height above sea level. Eastern Cape, there's some snow there in Hawksburg and Berkeley East. But it's just, it's nothing like Norway. We don't have a snow culture. We don't have Father Christmas stuffed in. We don't have Father Christmas. We don't need Father Christmas. We don't need Father Christmas. We don't need gifts from Father Christmas. We don't need candy. The Tikoloshes. Their Father Christmas is with the Tikoloshes. They call them, what do they call those things that Father Christmas is with? By the way, they were black slaves. It was a black slave of Saint Nicholas, Sinterklaas, the Zwarte Piet, or the Zwarte Piet. The elves. Yeah, what Tikoloshes are those? But it's actually black slaves. So, let me quickly just walk you guys through the Xhosa calendar. Then I'll come back to the others. So, in the Xhosa mind right now, it's the first month of the year. And it's the 3rd day of the month. It's the 3rd of the month of Isilimela. In this year, this is a new year, KwaXhosa. Now, this new year, it doesn't have a number. It's going to be called by a name. It's going to be called by a name. It could be the year of whatever happened this year. The year of the eclipse. Unyaka wesithunzi somhlaba. Ngosuku lesithathu kwinyanga yesilimela. 3rd of the Isilimela month on the year of the eclipse. That's how we name it. We name years, we don't number them. So now from this month 29 days later or 30 days later, I think on the 13th of August, a new Xhosa month is going to begin. It's not going to begin on the 1st of August. We don't have August. But after Islimela, a new month is going to begin. In July, I think 14th of July or 13th. That new month is going to be called the month of the Aluferox plant because it's going to bloom. It's already blooming right now. So that month now, mid-July, it will be called the month of the Aluferox plant because it blooms. It has that red bloom called Imvomvo. Then after that month, about another moon cycle where the moon will die and then resurrect. About mid-August, a new month begins. It is called the month of Idwaga. Oh no, Itupa. The month of Amatupa. Amatupa now are these pods that form on a specific tree known as the Cape Reef, the Cape Coral tree. The Cape Coral tree. Umsintsi. So umsintsi, the pods contain seeds. They are swollen in August, in that time. Middle of August. That's why we call it inyanga yetupa or umatupa. Some people call it umadikas. That month, the month of the widows. I don't know why it's called umadikas. I'm still interested in finding that out. After that, another moon cycle around mid-September. Boom, we have a new moon. We observe the new moon. We observe the nature. We can see umsintsi, the tree, has orange plumes now. We call that month the month of the blooming of the umsintsi. Inyanga yomsintsi. People think it's September. No, it's not September. It's the new moon that occurs in the middle of September. That is the beginning of that month, not 1st of September. Again, people are so comfortable. People are so comfortable to allow European supremacy. Because even the schools were like, no, 1st of September is the 1st of Inyanga Yomsintsi. No, it's not, because Inyanga Yomsintsi doesn't depend on the calendar that the Romans, created. Inyanga Yomsintsi depends on the moon cycle. That's it. Then, around, I think, what is this thing? The 10th of October this year, there's going to be another new moon. Now that month is called Idwaga. Idwaga now is this plant called a ragwort. It's a ragwort. It's a yellow plant. It's got yellow leaves. It's called the broad-leaved ragwort. Idwaga. It blooms. It blooms all over. The next new moon is another month called Inkanga. Inkanga is also a little plant called the juniper ragwort. It also blooms in that month. So the land is yellow. It's yellow because of that plant's abundance. Now Inkanga, it blooms, it's beautiful. Then it dies out over some time. Elders like to say, akukho nkanga, idubula ingeti. After that month now, this is mid-November, another new moon. Around the 10th of December, a new moon begins. Now, in this new moon, when you observe nature, you will see that the acacia tree or the mimosa tree is yellow looking. It's got these yellow flowers. We call that month the month of the acacia tree. And then for about 29 days, that month continues. And then that month is full of milk. The month of December, full of milk. We eat milk. Plants are yellow, they are green, they are pink. That's why we call it Ihlobo. This is where you experience another solstice now, the summer solstice. This is you're going to experience the longest day in the entire year and the shortest night in the entire year. It's around the 21st to the 24th of December. This is what you celebrate as Christmas. Christmas is what you celebrate. That's why back when we were younger, our parents used to tell us to go and look at the sun in the morning. It's dancing. Because the sun is at its strongest here in the southern hemisphere in December. This is also where now you start to hear the bird known as uphezukomkhono. Peskomkhono. One new moon later, around the first week of January, 7th of January, you start to see a new moon pop up. When you observe the nature, you see this long grass everywhere. This grass called umqungu, they call it tambuki grass. It's called umqungu. It's long. It's closing the paths everywhere. We say this is the month of umqungu. One new moon later, around the first week of February, you start to notice the corn and the sorghum are swollen now. The little corn and sorghum heads, the ears are swollen. It's gonna bloom. We say zidumbile, zidumbile, amazimba dumbile. The maize is swollen, umdumba. And this is Xhosa. Amahlubi will have their own unique months. Amampondo will have their own unique months. And I know them. In fact, let me grab my notes so that I can go through them. We must fix this problem of months right now, because I see that there's a persistent need to always align our cosmology, our time, our everything with what the Romans were doing. Where were we when the Romans were doing those things? In 300 AD, when the Romans were busy doing their stuff, we were busy building our own cultures here. So we must not be included in those things, please. We must not be included in those things. And then the month of March, because remember we had planted in July, August, September, things started to be ready by Jan, February. By March, we have a big ceremony called the first fruit ceremony. In isiXhosa, it's called ukwindla, where people are eating something called ulibo. Udliwa ulibo, hence it's called kwindla, from the word indla. Now, this is a national event. It's a national scale event where elders come together, they celebrate. The king tastes the first food. The men bring food from their gardens and from their farms. It's taken to the chief shaman, ikamagula komkhulu, or intonga yakomkhulu, the stick of the royal family, the weapon of the royal family. This is the chief sangoma of the entire nation, the war doctor, the men of the armies, the men who are age appropriate to be in the armies. They bring their own first fruits. These are cooked by the chief shaman or the head war doctor. He cooks these first fruits, mixes them with herbs. These men taste, they get washed so that they can be strong for the army of the king. They taste the food that has been cooked by ikamagula komkhulu, and it is declared that everybody can benefit from the food. But the food that is brought to the royal family is there to feed the royal family, to feed the homeless, to feed the foreigners. In those days, the foreigners were still South Africans, like someone from a different village, basically, or someone from a different kingdom. It was there to feed the refugees. Someone who was sent away by their father, maybe they tried to take over the kingdom, came here to seek refuge. They'll be taken by the royal family. They'll be fed. It was there, the food that people are giving to feed everybody else. And now the next year, the next new moon would start another time where people start to notice. Now it's around first week of April. People start to notice that the pumpkins are getting rotten. The pumpkins, which in isiXhosa they are called impuzi, impuzi in plural, uphuzi in singular. Impuzi ziyachaza. The pumpkins are getting frostbitten. Then the month of April is then called uchazimpuzi, the month of the rotting or the rotting pumpkins. Maputsi, impuzi. Then the last month of the Xhosa year being the month of the bright star called Canopus. This is the month of Ukanzibe, the Canopus bright star. Now, some cultures, they will add a 13th month between Kanzibe and Slimela, which is between the end of May and June. They will add like a 10-day period of like, I don't know, to balance the numbers or whatever. So it could be 13 months, but it's 12 to 13. And the year ends. And this is just the months. I did not mention what happens in those months because each month introduces a new thing. So there's 2 points that are important here. The first point is that there are 4 areas in a year, 4 times in a year where the year begins afresh. These times are geographical facts. It's not Xhosa or Zulu or Sotho. It's a real fact that happens in the whole world. So nobody invented it. It's natural. The first point is the winter solstice. What is the winter solstice? Well, the sun is the furthest from us on that day. That is to say, the sun is the closest to the northern hemisphere. This is the day where the sun will be over the Tropic of Capricorn. It will hit the rays of the sun will hit the equator at 23.5 degrees. That angle, that is the steepest angle the sun will hit the rays, will hit the equator, 23.5 degrees. That's where in Northern Europe, it's going to be a 24-hour day for some time. The sun doesn't set in Europe in those days. That's the peak of their winter and it's the peak of our summer. This is where the mythologies now of the ancient people start to show, where they will tell you that the god of light was defeated by the god of darkness. The god of light is the sun. The god of darkness is the night time, the moon. So because the sun is the furthest from the southern hemisphere, for that night, the moon has conquered the sun. And the day is the shortest that day. The night is the longest. So if you can stay awake and measure from the time the sun sets and measure the hours, you will see that it's going to be dark for much longer. And measure the hours during the day, it's going to be light. There's going to be light for a very short period of time. And that is the solstice. That's what the solstice is. You understand? The sun is at the steepest angle. The sun is the furthest. The day is the shortest. The night is the longest. The god of the night has conquered the sun. The sun is dead on that day. It will come back in spring. So what you get now between the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere to the spring equinox is the slow recovery of the sun. As the sun keeps on getting closer and closer and closer to the equator once again. On the spring equinox, which is about 21 to 24 September, between 21 to 24 September, the sun is directly above the equator. So if you are in the Central African Republic, thank you, Langal Balel. Thank you for the gifts, guys. Thank you for those who are gifting. If you are in the Central African Republic on that day, on the spring equinox, you will see at noon, if you put, let's say, a stick, actually, the whole day, if you put a vertical stick, you will see the shadow, it's straight. The sun is above, here, at 0 degrees from the equator. What does that mean now? It means the length of the day and the length of the sun of the night are equal. That's what it means. So it means now, as the god of the sun and the god of the moon are fighting, they are equal. But the sun on the next day will gain the advantage. The sun will gain the advantage because now we are moving towards summer now. And summer is the day where the sun is the strongest. The real geographical phenomenon of summer actually happens on the day of the solstice, if we are being strict about it. So the equinox is that period. It's like it's a point of inflection where the tides are turning now and the sun is getting very strong. So between the spring, the summer, the winter solstice, June, towards between 21 to 24 June, winter solstice in southern hemisphere, and the spring equinox, 21 to 24 September, that 3-month period, that is the period of Nomkhubulwane. That is the period of Islimela. That is the period of plowing. That is the period of Hlakula. That is the period of clearing the fields, preparing. Remember, winter, which we call ubusika, is the time of cutting off the last remaining fruits and harvest from the fields. It's the time of death. Now we have to prepare again for new life. Now, obviously, this is not a cult. Xhosa people don't have to do it on the same day as the Zulu. Zulu people don't have to do it on the same month as the Xhosa. But it's a period of transition. And this is what's important. We are in a spectrum here. Same thing with language. There are no rules to say, indlu, you must pronounce it as indlu. That's why Basotho batlori ndlu. AmaXhosa athi indlu. Are the Sothos wrong? No, they're not. It's a spectrum. So even this New Year thing is not really on the 24th of September. It's not. What we can say it in that we've entered the period of transition. And then we can choose this equinox day. We can choose the equinox day as where we collectively celebrate now the official beginning of the return of summer. That's what it is. It doesn't mean 24 September is the beginning of the year. No. It's not, doesn't work like that. 24 September, it's not even 24 September, by the way. 24 September is Heritage Day. That's it. It was Shaka Day before that. It's actually between 21 to 24. Some years it's 21. Let me check actually this year. When is the spring equinox? So that we don't do guesswork. You see, 22 September to 23. It's going to be one of those days. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? So, that is what I'm talking about. So now, that period between mid-June to mid-September, that period is the transition period, which means the death is finalizing and the resurrection is beginning in that period. So it's not going to be one specific day. I want us to release ourselves from the shackles of Europeanisms where everything has to be structured. No, that's not how indigenous affairs work. It's not structured, guys. It's accumulative. It's a cumulative thing. It's cumulative. We are very fluid as a people. That's why I can be Xhosa and Sotho at the same time. You'll be shocked that I speak Xhosa, but my clan name is Msotho. Because it's not a rigid thing. It's a spectrum. So we are a multi-layered people. That's how it works. So now, for example, in the Eastern Cape, because you've got many different societies. You've got many different societies. You have AmaXhosa, AmaHlubi, AmaZizi, AmaBhele. Some of these months then we had the names, we had the privilege of learning the names of the months in other languages, like the languages of AmaZizi and AmaHlubi. For example, some AmaHlubi now, not all AmaHlubi, some AmaHlubi will usually say the month of September is Uhlaza. Now Uhlaza in September, it's not really September again. It's the new moon that occurs in September. Remember that when you talk about months, for us, it's not the first of the calendar month. We don't use calendar months. We use lunar, which means moon cycle. Our months are based on the moon cycle. So if you say the month of September in my language is A, B, C, and D, that's not true. What you are trying to say is that the month that begins in the period of September, the new moon that begins in the period of September in my language is A, B, C, and D. So AmaHlubi will then usually use the name Uhlaza for that new moon in the month of September in the Gregorian calendar. So the new moon in the month of September will tend to be around the 10th to the 13th the new moon, you can see it with your own eyes in the sky. If you don't understand how this new moon thing works, you just need to get an app that tracks. Just get a new moon app like on Play Store or Apple Store, Microsoft Store. You get an app, you download it, you check. The next new moon, set a reminder. I want you to go outside and see what you're gonna see at night in the night sky. I want you to see for yourself how the moon is gonna look, or if you're gonna see it at all on the new moon. Then on the next day, I want you to go and see it again. On the next day, look at it again. For a month, I want you to go and observe the moon. You will see it starts with nothing, and then it keeps on getting brighter and brighter until it reaches the full brightness, which we call the new moon, the full moon. Yes, I think the app is just gonna guide you, but you must look at the moon yourself, like outside. That's how I learned about the moon. I looked at the moon. I followed the moon for months, see how the moon works. And then we've got names for the moon's phases. We've got names. It's not like we don't have names. We know the different phases of the moon. We know. For example, Kasisutu, when they talk about okay, someone was asking me about July, why they don't celebrate anything. Well, July is actually called Dikwedi Tsabaloi. Dikwedi Tsabaloi. It's called the sorcerer's moon, July. Why July? Well, July is like the end of winter. Remember, winter generally begins around May and ends in July, generally. But we know it peaks in June. So the end of the new moon of June begins the new moon of July. And towards the end of July, then the winter is dying out. Old people in the Sotho-Tswana groups used to call that period Dikwedi or Dikwedi Tsabaloi, the months of the witches. Honestly, it's because it's the death of the year. That's what that period is. It's the death of the agricultural period. So it's a mourning time more than anything. Remember, when I started this live, I was telling you guys how we personified everything. We communicated with the moon, with the stars, with rain, with sun, with water, even concepts like the year. These are things that we personified. So the death of the year comes with the end of winter. What do you do when there's a death? Do you celebrate? No, you mourn. You mourn. So that is the mourning period that the gentleman, the Mupedi gentleman was mentioning, that they were told not to do what? Not to celebrate. You don't celebrate. In fact, what we are doing in that period, after cutting everything in the fields and removing everything in the fields, we break the ground. We stab the ground. We break the ground. Siyahlakula, siyakubula. You know, we're preparing it again to receive a new life. So you could say that in a conceptual way, it's a period of uncleanness because there's death happening, but at the same time, it's a period of renewal. So the death is giving way to the life. The months towards the end of winter, or the times towards the end of winter. Some people begin plowing in those times. Like Amaxhosa would begin plowing wheat in Ngqolowa before anything else around this time. Now, when elders would say, for example, there was a red moon, which is called an eclipse, by the way. It's an eclipse. So the elders would say, the moon is rotten. It's a rotten moon. Now, because it's got color, it's got this red copper color. So, interesting, because that is the Sotho interpretation of the eclipse. The Xhosa interpretation would be isithunzi somhlaba. So amaXhosa would say, no, that is the shadow. That is the shadow of the earth on the moon, which is true as well. Because the sun shines on the earth, but then the moon is blocked now. The sunshine to the moon is blocked by the earth's shadow. So the earth's shadow is cast towards the moon. And that is isithunzi somhlaba. In Xitsonga, it's Nweti uborile. Nweti uborile, again, that is your eclipse. So at school, you're not going to learn it once again, because the core focus is not for you to realize that you already have your own systems that you should in fact be improving upon, like the Russians are improving Russian systems, like the Germans are improving German systems, like the Chinese are improving Chinese systems, like the Japanese are improving Japanese systems, Koreans improving Korean systems, Indians improving Indian systems, Brazilians improving Brazilian systems. You are not taught your own system so that you can improve your own systems, but instead you are taught about European systems. What are you going to do but improve European systems? There's a guy here from the Eastern Cape called Usiya Xuza. He invented rocket fuel of some sort at a very young age. You know, he was invited by Obama, I think, to the White House at some point. They took him, Harvard took him. They actually named an asteroid by Xuza, a guy from the Eastern Cape. NASA named an asteroid, a space rock, by his name. It's an asteroid Xuza what. I forgot the number. You can check it online. Why was it so easy for a bright mind to be taken from here to go to America? Because that's the whole point. That's what the system exists for. It exists for us to enrich other systems, other cultures. That's what we're doing. That is why we are hosting this live in English. You and me, we're all victims. We're all victims. Our existence is to advance everybody else but ourselves. Why do you think all the shops we buy from 99.9% of the times do nothing for us? All the liquor stores our people buy from 99.9% of the time do nothing for us. Just tell me what the Somali spaza shops have done for you, or the Ethiopian spaza shops, or the Indian spaza shops, or the Bangladeshi spaza shops, or the Pakistani spaza shops, or the Afrikaner giants, the monopolies, your ShopRite Checkers, or Woolworths, or Spar, the Dutch company, or Hewlett's. What has UCT done for us? What has Stellenbosch done for us? What has Wits done for us? What has Potch done for us? So our very existence is only and only to advance everything and anything that is not us. And that is mind-boggling. There's no savior. There's nobody who's going to come and save anyone. There is no savior. You have to dig inside of you and find the savior to save you. There's nobody who's going to save you. It's not Phakelo Mthakathi. It's not Ngizwe Mchunu. It's not Jacinta Ngobese. It's not Ramaphosa. It's not Julius Malema. It's not PLO Lumumba. They're not going to save none of you. Those people are not going to save you. No, it's not Sandile or Madzigane. You have to do it yourself. Hold hands with like-minded people and build something. I'm telling you, I'm running an institution. No person has come and said, here's R1 million, man. Leave that 9 to 5 of yours. Let's build a real private institution. And that institution will exist for one and one thing only, for the advancement of everything us. We need to build our own bombs. We need to build our own rockets. We need to build our own aircrafts. We need to build our own aviation institutions. We need to build our own water systems. We need to invent our own light bulbs. We need to invent our own electricity. We need to do everything by ourselves, man. Why do you think countries that are tiny and small are able to advance and control countries that are bigger than them? You think they're doing it because they are liked by those countries? You think America likes Israel? America doesn't like Israel. Israel is holding them by the scrotum, and they're getting what they want. Because it's a matter of pressing a button and America is done with. That's what happens when you invest in what is yours. It's not just about months. I'm using the example of months as a pedagogical agent. It's just an agent to explain something that you can understand, to explain a concept that is understandable at that granular level. What I'm talking about is bigger than the month of June or the new moon or the lunar whatever. It's much bigger than that. That's like grade 1 level stuff. The real idea here is really advanced, but you have to understand the small stuff first, and then you translate that same understanding to everything else. That's how it works. So Watsonga will say Nweti iburile, and Basotho will say Kgwedi ibolile. AmaXhosa will say isithunzi somhlaba. That would be referred to the eclipse. Now when we refer to the new moon, we'll say Kgwedi ithwasitse kaSesotho, inkwezi ithwasile ngesiXhosa, or unyezi luthwasile in Nguni, inyanga ithwasile. Now thwasa really is the concept of appearing afresh, starting afresh. That is what thwasa really is. At home, that's the word that's used. Inyanga ithwasile, we don't use any other word. It refers to the literal appearance of the actual moon. You could see it with your own eyes. That's what inyanga ithwasile. It doesn't refer to the 1st of June or 1st of September. We don't have June, September, or December. They don't exist. It's Roman stuff. Just like the Romans don't have Nwaba. Just like the Romans don't have Untlangulana. Just like the Romans don't have Udlovana, no Dlovulechulu. Just like the Romans do not have Untsinga. They do not have Nyanga Yomga or Islimela. They don't have our months. Why should we have theirs? Hey, you must talk about self-love, guys. Self-love. It can't stop only with putting makeup on your face. Self-love. But you are putting something that belongs to somebody else above what is yours. Self-love has to be with everything. You must love yourself enough to invent your own things, to advance. We already have this system. That's the point. We already have them. We already have everything. We have everything. We have a basis for mathematics. We have a basis for science. We have a basis for geography, and geomorphology, and geology, and archaeology. We have these things, medicine. And, I spoke this time around about materia medica and methodus medindi, and I explained the concepts of medicine at a deep conceptual level. But it ends as just empty words if we don't put our monies where our mouths are and actually build real tangible institutions that are going to translate this knowledge into real tangible ideas that then people are going to come together and actually build stuff. And it starts with the smallest thing. It starts with actually creating clothing lines, not based on European nonsense, but real indigenous clothes. Ibheshu, malibele ibheshu. Isishuba, masibe isishuba. I don't want to wear a German jean turned skin now. Why? It's still not yours, Musagiri. You took it from somebody else. Make our stuff, man. Advance what is yours. That's all I'm saying. Self-love must be translated to that. So now when it's a full moon, then we'll say Kgwedi itulukile. NgesiZulu we'll say Nyanga idilingile or indilinga or ibulungile or imbulunga. NgesiXhosa we'll say Nyanga izele. Izele. That is the full moon. The full moon, Agiri, that is the month of the hunter. It's Qayqab. It's the Qayqab, which is the hunter's moon. It's the best time to go out to hunt because, the moon is watching upon you. Go and hunt and get something. Now, these days, you could interpret that, figuratively, that hunting may not necessarily mean going around and killing animals. It may mean signing a deal. It may mean starting something new with your life, starting a new project. That hunting can be figurative. It doesn't have to always be, literal. Now, the last quarter of the moon, in Sesotho, you say kgwedi e qhetswile. In isiXhosa sithi inyanga iliceba. IsiZulu inyanga iliqezu or icezu, cezukile or qhezukile. And this is the last quarter. And again, there's many videos where I talk about this. Many videos, maybe like 3, 4, 5, where I discuss moon and stars and signs. I'm not gonna go through that. I'm just sharing to expand the scope of the topic. The scope of the topic. So now, when the month is finished, there's a period where our people had to develop a technology to be able to see when the moon is going to start. They knew it before the moon appeared in the sky. They knew that the new moon is this day. Before apps, we had our own tracking methods using water and mud or earth vessels. So these pots we make, these vessels were made with clay. Using those things with water, we could see the moon, the new moon, during the day before it appears in the sky. And the man who saw the moon, or the woman or whoever, would blow the horn, and tell the chief. The chief declares a Sabbath immediately. What is a Sabbath, you ask? It's ukushubeza, the ending of work. So you take and put all your tools away. It's a holiday. You thought we didn't have holidays? It's a holiday. We literally had holidays. Everything I was mentioning, the new moon is a holiday. Whenever people see the new moon, nobody is working on that day. So we have 12 guaranteed holidays in our culture that have nothing to do with Christmas or Freedom Day or these things of ANC and politics, stupid stuff, Leninism and Marxism and Workers' Day. We don't have any of that nonsense. For us, the 12 new moons of the year are the 12 days that are holy, they're sacred. There's no work that is to be done on those days because the moon has just been born again. We sit down, we celebrate. That's the first category of holidays. The second category of holidays is events, national scale events like ukwindla, like inwala, like umkhosi wokushwama, like hushwama kaSesotho, which is ukwindla ngesiXhosa and ulibo. Those are national level holidays as well. No work is done on those days. The whole nation attends those events. That is a second class of holidays. Today, nobody talks about them. They are busy trying to do Ancestors' Day. Let's do Ancestors' Day, guys. You don't need Ancestors' Day. You already have holidays. Why do you want to separate a specific day? Ancestors already, it's the DNA. They've given you information. You have DNA in you. You want Ancestors' Day because, again, you want to fit into the European style of organizing everything. Everything must fit into the European calendar. No, we don't have Ancestors' Day. We've got 12 holidays that are the new moon. When it appears in the sky, nobody works on that day. We blow the horn and everybody is in mourning. You put away the work. We celebrate. We've got first fruit ceremony. We celebrate. We've got the rites of passage. We celebrate. Those are holidays. It's Ancestors' Day. God. Hey, oh my goodness. Yeah. But sometimes the people who are at the forefront of some of these things, they are also the problem. The same people who are at the forefront leading some of these stupid campaigns, that have nothing to do with advancing our technologies, our inventions, our cosmological systems, our literature. The people who are at the forefront of these stupid things that are temporary fixes to a long, permanent problem. Because the problem is not going to be sorted as long as you operate within the system of the parasite. You need to cut off the system of the parasite and re-establish the original system of home ground. The organic system of our forefathers has to be re-established for us to advance. You cannot pass within a system of a parasite. When the parasite is on your spine, sucking your spinal fluids day in and day out, you're not passing, you're not succeeding, because you are feeding the same system that uses your energy, that uses your intelligence, that uses your emotion, that uses your pain, that uses your power as its fuel. You are fuel for this system. You're not going to go anywhere as a group, because the system thrives off of our destruction. It's a system of a parasite. That's just the reality. There's a parasite, there's a foreign energy in this system, and it's going to keep on sucking the life out of us. We're going to keep on throwing ourselves down bridges. We're going to keep on unaliving each other. Talk about femicide, talk about homophobia, talk about male suicide. All these things are going to keep on happening because it's a foreign system, foreign thoughts, foreign concepts. Chuck it all out, and everyone who's in line with it. That's it. That's it. You can make million ancestors days. It's not going to change anything. And I have a feeling those who advocate for some of these things know it already. They know it's just a bandage, it's just a plaster, plaster that you put. But the real problem is not that. The problem is deeper than that. And I'm telling you right now, if you think maybe there's some government system that's going to help our people in any way, we should have. What is Mutepe doing? What is King Mswati doing? What did they build for the advancement of our people as a group? How many institutions, indigenous institutions, has Mswati built? I'm not talking about going to Thailand and getting Thai people to do stuff for him. I'm talking about actually building something organic, something real, something long-term, a heritage of our people, an inheritance. I was saying just a few days ago, guys, the only thing we have for real, Tina, as people of South Africa and Southern Africa, the only thing we have for real, where there's no doubt, is actually the country itself. Which is why we cannot let it go to the dogs. It's our country, we cannot let it go to the dogs. So we have to fight then to restore that. We have to fight to restore that. And if you don't know your bloodline, don't go to the front lines. If you don't know who you are, do not go to the front lines. Your head is going to be cut off. Let those of us who have done the homework, maybe you are not ready for this kind of stuff, stay back. Go and learn about stars and moons and all that. Don't go to the front lines. You will be cut off. This knowledge will burst your brains. You will lose your mind. This one is for people who have been cooked in the fire. You will lose your mind. You need to go and do the groundwork first, and then you build stuff. You start at ground level. I'm not saying people must build like Harvard level institutions, although we know Harvard is a fraud. Mosakiri is just a playing ground of rich kids who don't even deserve to be there, but get their fathers they are funding the place, so they just call in favors and then donate big monies to the institutions, and then they just guaranteed space, so they still want the prestige. Anyway, so we have to start at ground level. Now I've started. So I've built Tusani Letuka University. We're celebrating our anniversary end of this moon. Not end of June, end of the moon. So the end of the moon will be around the 12th of July. On the 13th of July to the 14th, it's going to be a new moon. It will be marking 1 full year of Tusani Letuka University. And I've had about 30 to 40 people even 50 people support me in various ways. Some people consult with me. Some people are business owners. For example, there's a olive oil business owner. He came and he consulted about the olive oil tree. We had a 3-hour consultation. He paid 700 Rand for that consultation, which is my fee. 3-hour consultation. And then I prepared a presentation. I gave it to him. Another one was a gentleman who was doing a lineage tracking. He's writing a family lineage book. He also paid 500 Rand, I think, for like a 2-hour consultation. I don't remember now, or 700 for a 3-hour consultation. That's the kind of support I'm talking about. Another gentleman, he was doing a master's thesis on indigenous leadership, paid for like an hour, 350 Rand. Then there was another lady who was doing a PhD thesis on psychology. And then you have my close circle, the people who have sessions with me every week. So when I'm saying I'm running an actual independent institution, private institution, because I'm not gonna wait for Sivyo Kwahube, I'm not gonna wait for Gayton McKenzie to decide what I do and what I don't do about my ancestral heritage. And that's exactly the spirit that I'm imparting today. I'm giving you that. You don't wait, you actually take into your hands and do something. Oh no, but what can I do? I don't have millions of friends. No, you can do something actually. If you are someone who's gifted with cooking, you start cooking with sorghum, the indigenous plants of our land. Sorghum, millet, finger millet. You invent stuff. All I'm saying is that we must not be at the receiving end of anything now. We must be the creators. We must activate the creator essence in us. We cannot constantly be receivers. Other people are mocking our guts for being the receivers. And it's man-made, by the way. The whole receiver mindset, the whole begging mindset of our people is man-made. Because 300 years ago, in 400 AD, when our people were in Randburg building civilizations in what is now Randburg, in what is now Tshwane, in what is now Witwatersrand, when the ancestors of the Nguni people and the Sotho people in the Northern Cape were building stone civilizations, when they were building stone civilizations 5,000 years ago in the Kalahari, they were not waiting for handouts. They were not waiting for social grants. They knew they had to build things themselves. When the people who were mining in Ngwenya mine, they did not wait for somebody to hand them a handout. They did not wait social grant. They didn't wait for 350 SRD support for unemployment. They didn't wait for that. That does not mean now people should not take what is their entitlement. What I'm saying is that that's not what's going to solve the problem. It may solve a temporary issue, but it's not going to solve anything long term. What it's going to breed is dependence. Perpetual dependence, and that is exactly what the system needs to thrive, because the moment you are dependent is the moment they will suck the life out of you. Multi-generational slavery. You'll be confused if you think I'm talking about the 1800s here. We don't deal with shallow stuff of the British colonization. We know those things, but we go back when our people were fully self-sufficient. When they were mining gold for themselves, smelting gold, refining it, forging it, forming shapes out of it, using it for jewelry, using it for rituals, using it to build symbolism. You see, there in Mapungubwe, the royal clan, their totem is the rhino. Why do you think they built the golden rhino with gold? Why? Because it's their totem. Why do you think in Great Zimbabwe they built the eagle, the Bateleur eagle in stone? It symbolizes the royal bloodlines. It literally symbolizes the royal bloodlines. The Bateleur eagle in Xhosa are called Ingang. That's why you see it in the flag of Zimbabwe. You think these things were they made these things independent of the grant of any government, our people. And that's exactly the mindset that we need to employ. You know, Russia was put under sanctions not long ago. And it's performative, very performative. The whole thing with sanctions, super performative. because these people are literally selling and buying from each other whilst they are sanctioning each other. They buy and sell from each other. Our ancestors had names for gold, silver, and all that. I've got maybe 10 to 15 videos talking about that. It's there on YouTube. Go to Sandile Tukan. You'll find the videos. And I'm saying it on purpose because I could just tell you what the name of gold is and what the name of copper is. But I'm not going to do it because I need someone who wants to know for real to go and find it in my videos. I could literally tell you that gold is this and that in isiXhosa, in Sesotho, and that's why we call it. I'm not going to say it here. I've said it 10 times already. Go to my channel, you'll find everything. Don't be rude, man. It's fine. Scroll. All right. Go listen to Mbalula. He's nice, Yenashem. Listen to him. And maintain the perpetual slavery of our people. Because that's exactly what's happening. Nothing else is going to change. We are going to be constantly a laughing stock of the world. The Iranians are building their own things against all odds. The Jews are building their own things, and they will use anything and anyone that they have to get the stuff they want to get. They will destroy anything and anyone to get what they want to get. The Germans are doing the same. The Chinese are doing the same. The Japanese are doing the same. Koreans are doing the same. Indians are doing the same. Pakistanis, the Turks, everybody is doing it except for us. Something is not right. Something is not right, eh? All right. So I was talking about time. So our concept of time does not need, they do not need to be aligned. They don't need to be aligned with European anything. Leave Europe be. They've got their own history. You know, in 360 AD, 460 AD, the Europeans were still tribes, Vandals and Goths and Visigoths, Lombards and Franks, with thriving civilizations, trade networks, trade routes with Asia, with the Middle East, amongst each other. There's evidence for it. You just have to go to Westville Copies in Gauteng. You have to go to Tshwane in Gauteng. You just have to go to Magaliesberg. You have to go to the Witwatersrand area. You will see the stone ruins everywhere. You think Gauteng was discovered in 18 what? It's like that nonsense they say, oh no, Johannesburg. They even call it Johannesburg. That's not Johannesburg. That is the ancient home of the Sotho, Tswana, Kauni, and Kui, and so-called Nguni people. That is the home of our ancestors, what they call Witwatersrand, where they say they discovered gold. There were people living there 1,800 years ago. There's literally steel stones that were built the earliest time I can remember when the kingdoms were independent is about 2,000 years ago, 1,500, 1,800 years ago. But we know it goes back than that, way, way back. Which is exactly why we need archaeologists of our own kind. Our people, I wanna do nursing. I wanna do nursing. Everybody wants to do nursing. I understand. That's not bad. But who's gonna do the archaeology? Who's gonna do geology then? You need to think further. You can do nursing, get a job, because we know there's economic problems. Maybe you feel like you're going to get a job faster. Then find a way to study archaeology then. Because at the end of the day, we need to be able to use this for us. You see these influential families at times. They already have the money, generational money, but they send the kids to school still. Because to maintain control, they have to continue. They can't drop the ball. They don't send kids to school to learn art and drama. They send kids to school to have control. Yes, it's not Magaliesberg, it's Thabamukhali. It's Thabamukhali, basically. Thabamukhali. That's the proper way. All right. Now, time. I didn't even call it by name for a reason. But I wanted to just align the whole thing of New Year. Xhosa people already are in the New Year as we speak. It's the third day now. Now, the very idea of time is linked to the moon, literally. I mean, the name of the month is the moon. Inyanga, Khwedi. But it's also linked to the cycle of agricultural processes. Silimo. Udilimo dikai. Silimo is the word kulima. Ukulima unezlimele zingaphi. Yeah? But if you go even further, think about the word ka, because the name for time is actually the word ka. Ika. In isiXhosa. That is the proper word for time. Ilika or ika. That's why when people use the word when I want to do this, they say ka. When is the object of time. That is time. It's an expression of time, really. But what is ka? I'm coming to that. Xesha is also time. It's place. You know, you go to Kora Kobab, you go to Kunkia, you look at the name for the moon there, it's literally Qais and Qaib. Xesha is literally Xesha. When you say Xesha, you are saying the moon. Do you guys understand? When you say Xesha time, you are actually saying the moon. The word Xesha means moon. That's why a woman who goes through her monthly moon cycles, the period, we call it usexesheni, usenyangeni. She's having a monthly or moon-based cycle. So again, the very concept of time for us here is linked to the moon. It's not linked to collection of texts, which is what the modern Gregorian calendar is based on. So we have to reject in its fullness the entire systemic setup, because the setup at the core was based on extracting from us. We are the resources in this system, because it's a system of a parasite. It's a system that survives through us. It's a parasitic system. It's a foreign energy that has been imposed upon us. It's like you found us here in our own ecosystem. We are here inside in our own ecosystem. The parasite came as a membrane. It covered our own ecosystem. It penetrated and it came underneath. So we are under the parasite. Our own mother, our system, our organic mother doesn't see us. There's no connection. Our indigenous matrix is disconnected from us. We are within a foreign matrix. You know, matrix really means the womb, the mother, the containing environment. So we are in a completely foreign system, and we are the fuel for that system. I think this is a very important thing to understand, that you are the fuel for this system. You are not some group that is going to succeed in the future. The rules keep on changing. The moment you get close to the goalposts, the posts shift, they change size. The rules keep on changing. They keep on updating the rules. 20 years ago, you guys are not educated enough. Today, you guys don't have enough experience. Tomorrow, no, there are no jobs. It's AI now. The rules will keep on changing, because the goal is not to play fair. The goal is to keep on giving you that, dangling like a bone being dangled to a dog, so that you always have these feelings of frustration, and the system just keeps on sucking and sucking. So the solution is to take the system and kick it out of the way, resurrect our indigenous way of life. That marks the end of my life. Thank you for those who gave the gifts. I'll do another live another time. I'm done for today. Thank you very much. Igama lami nguSandile. Sandile wakwahlathi, wakajambase, wakalisa, wakacanza, wakasanza, wakahlangobele, nokasitulo wangube mhlophe. ozalwe emanzothweni kwanyilenzi kwamaphango kwangqali kwangxaki nqanqasini kwaquqa kwaqhamu kwawele kwawabe phambili kwambuzi ngasemva kwamnjani ethunga kwe kwasemanzothweni sithi woyini bafazi bentsizi letsholwane iphazami lithi abathi isidoda ngoma lehlatyule sifazi ngutsimba nkulu kayudu ngutaba kahili ngusiqa somile somizona zentshaba. I'm ending the live now. I don't think I spoke a lot. I could go on for 5 hours, but we have to be measured in these things. We have to do things healthily. We'll continue some other time. Ash, thank you guys. Bye-bye.